It's going to be a quick review for Isaac's Storm, a man, a time, and the deadliest hurricane in history. This is about the hurricane that hit Galveston in September of 1900, Galveston, Texas. I'll read the inside flap, tell you what I think about the book. This won't take too long, so here we go. An absurd delusion. At the dawn of the 20th century, a great confidence suffused America. Isaac Klein was one of the era's new men, a scientist who believed he knew all there was to know about the motion of clouds and the behavior of storms. The idea that a hurricane could damage the city of Galveston, Texas, where he was based, was to him preposterous, an absurd delusion. It was 1900, a year when America felt bigger and stronger than ever before. Nothing in nature could hobble the gleaming city of Galveston, then a magical place that seemed destined to become the New York of the Gulf. That August, a strange prolonged heat wave gripped the nation and killed scores of people in New York and Chicago. Odd things seemed to happen everywhere. A plague of crickets engulfed Waco. The Bering Glacier began to shrink. Rain fell on Galveston with greater intensity than anyone could remember. Far away, in Africa, immense thunderstorms blossomed over the city of Dakar, and great currents of wind converged. A wave of atmospheric turbulence slipped from the coast of western Africa. Most such waves faded quickly. This one did not. In Cuba, America's overconfidence was made all too obvious by the Weather Bureau's obsession with controlling hurricane forecast, even though Cuba's indigenous weathermen had pioneered hurricane science. As the Bureau's forecasters assured the nation that all was calm in the Caribbean, Cuba's own weathermen fretted about ominous signs in the sky. A curious stillness gripped Antigua. Only a few unlucky sea captains discovered that the storm had achieved an intensity no man alive had ever experienced. In Galveston, reassured by Klein's belief that no hurricane could seriously damage the city, there was celebration. Children played in the rising water. Hundreds of people gathered at the beach to marvel at the fantastically tall waves and gorgeous pink sky until the surf began ripping the city's beloved beachfront apart. Within the next few hours, Galveston would endure a hurricane that to this day remains the nation's deadliest natural disaster. In Galveston alone, at least 6,000 people, possibly as many as 10,000, would lose their lives, a number far greater than the combined death toll of the Jonestown flood and the 1906 San Francisco earthquake. And Isaac Klein would experience his own unbearable loss. Meticulously researched and vividly written, Isaac's Storm is based on Klein's own letters, telegrams, and reports, the testimony of scores of survivors, and our latest understanding of the hows and whys of great storms. Ultimately, however, it is a story of what can happen when human arrogance meets nature's last great uncontrollable force. As such, Isaac's Storm carries a warning for our time. So this was written by Erik Larson. Uh, he also wrote, I believe the book is called Devil in the White City, about the serial killer at the World's Fair, which I have not read, but I am aware of it because it's probably his most well-known work. But this is about, like I said, the 1900 Galveston hurricane, and at that time, there was no seawall in Galveston. That was one of the interesting things, kind of about the hubris of man. And this is kind of like if you're into, cautionary tales about pride and arrogance, how it can lead to disasters, very reminiscent of the Titanic. Kind of what I was thinking about, but on a larger scale. This wasn't a ship that sunk. This was an entire island that sunk. The book kind of starts slow, giving Isaac's background, his involvement in the fledgling Weather Bureau, the precursor to the American Weather Service. And there is one short paragraph I'll read here, page 84. It says, here we go. If Galveston had any lingering anxiety about its failure to erect a seawall, Isaac's 1891 article would have eased them. It was here that he belittled hurricane fears as the artifacts of, quote, an absurd delusion, unquote. He was especially confident about storm surges. Galveston would escape them, he argued, because the incoming water would spread first over the vast lowlands behind Galveston on the Texas mainland, north of the bay where the land was even closer to the sea level. It would be impossible, he wrote, for any cyclone to create a storm wave which could materially injure the city. So, yeah, he was wrong. And there's kind of a rivalry going on in this book, which is recounted about the weather service in Cuba and how they basically their warnings were poo-pooed and they were silenced by the Americans Weather Bureau. So yeah, it's like I said, the first half of the book kind of starts slow, but when you get to the actual hurricane action, um, yeah, it's harrowing. I could not put it down once we got to the actual storm. Okay, there is an account in here of Captain J.W. Simmons, who is master of the steamship Pensacola, who ended up like riding out in the storm. Just some pretty harrowing stuff. So this is a big recommend for me as far as nonfiction is concerned. This is a great history book. If you're into disasters, this will grip you. But it's very, man, I got to tell you, some of the stuff that it talks about in here was really disturbing, and it just, I don't know, it affected me. When I put the book down, when I finished reading it, it just kind of hit me like what I just read. Um, I have a personal connection because when I was in the United States Coast Guard, I was stationed in Galveston, Texas. So I was down there for 3 years. And in fact, the Walmart, okay, in Galveston stands where the orphanage um, used to be. The orphanage was destroyed by the flood, and all 93 children died. And to think like there's a Walmart standing there today where that orphanage was at, and I've shopped in that place. Um, went in there and bought dog food and stuff. Yeah, that's it. I got nothing else to say. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.